Hello again. So welcome to my channel one more time. And I know that you love my 2025 horoscopes. So now here we are with Gemini rising. And with this video, I have Sirena with me. So she's a Gemini rising and she's a professional astrologer. So welcome, Sirena. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Matt. Happy to be here. I'm so grateful for the invite to chat about 2025.
Exactly. And I will share the charts. So in the meantime, you can introduce yourself to the viewers who might see you for the first time. And I will also add your links to the video. So yeah,
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm Serena. I'm based in Longmont, Colorado, and I'm a Gemini rising, and I'm a yoga teacher. I also have a day job and an astrologer, just like Matt mentioned. Life Cycles Yoga is my handle for Instagram and on Facebook. And what I really love to do is share yoga and astrology together because I think that there's such a beautiful harmony between them, and they're also sister sciences in the field of yoga and Ayurveda and astrology. So I practice Western astrology, just to clarify that, because I know with yoga, there's a lot of Vedic astrology, of course. So happy to be here and to chat about this upcoming year, Matt.
perfect. Thank you so much. And now it's great that you combine yoga and astrology. It's so Gemini to combine two things. And I get so many Gemini vibes from you. It's amazing. So my mood is kind of uplifted. So I'm so excited for our chat. Okay. So now we see the chart of the transits of 1st of January 2025, the first day of the new year. And we see that planets are in the same signs as of today. So for that, my first question to you as a Gemini rising. So how have you experienced these transits of the planets in each sign? So can you summarize one by one?
Yeah, sure. Where should we start? I think, you know,
Jupiter.
there's a lot, right, to be said.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think one big thing that I was like contemplating was how many planets are in the last six houses, right? And how we show up in the
Yes.
world, right? Versus the personal planets. And there's one now, finally, Jupiter moved into Gemini. And so experiencing this different world perspective, indulgences, thinking outside the box, really gaining wisdom in terms of how others see me, how people perceive me, how I perceive the world. You know, with Jupiter and Gemini, I also in that first house, I I don't know, I was thinking about how it's going to be hitting my ascendant, and oftentimes it's said like there's a lot of expansion, right, in the first house. And so I feel that, I definitely feel that as a Gemini rising, and how I'm seeing the world and how others are seeing me. And it's a little bit, makes me a little bit nervous at times too. Although being Gemini rising, I appear very extroverted. I'm actually a quite introverted person because I'm a Virgo sun and a Taurus moon. So yeah.
Wow, Taurus moon, I love that. So, just a side note. Okay, for Uranus, I'm pretty curious. So it's in 12th there.
Yeah.
So how has it been for you? Like, it
Yeah.
is interesting placement.
It really is like Uranus and Taurus since 2018. And it's going to dip into Gemini, right, in 2025 a little bit for a few months and then come back to Taurus. And so Uranus as the planet of awakening, enlightenment, it rules the Kundalini. So the Kundalini energy, that Shakti energy, electricity in the 12th house, it's a little bit shocking and surprising. My moon being in Taurus, which is at 24 degrees, the full moon, literally this Friday, with Uranus going back and forth over it, really drumming up the subconscious. Since 2018, it was interesting. I thought, oh, this is going to be about money. I ended up quitting my big corporate job. And everything changed for me in that particular month that it entered into Taurus in 2018. So since then, it has been a complete development in the 12th house of my subconscious, my spiritual health, my mental health. A lot has happened in terms of situations, relationships, jobs changing, surprises in the family, in the home, in money. Everything came together to drum up everything from the subconscious. to really face it. And it goes hand in hand with Pluto when it was going through my 8th house as well, right? So like the water sign houses, the deeper, darker emotions, the shadows, the fears. I think what has been particularly interesting about Uranus going through the 12th house is that you can have awakening to your hidden talents, to things that which you want to hide or that you did not necessarily know could be cultivated from within you, right? So a big part of this is I went through teacher training, yoga teacher training, my 200-hour, which is usually where you typically would start with a yoga teacher training, in 2016. And then come 2018, so much started to change and shift and grow in that aspect of my hidden talent. I knew it was there for a long time, that I really wanted to study yoga, yogic philosophy, the wisdom, the breath work, the poses, the meditation, you know, reaching enlightenment, all these things that go towards yoga teacher training, and really understanding the base of where it comes from too, and honoring the past, where it comes from in India. Of course, my 10th house is Pisces, right? So as a true Piscean 10th house, for me, it's about service. And I really had to figure out, with Uranus going through my 12th house, my hidden talents were coming through, my connections to my subconscious, my spirituality. It was all being cultivated in order to really create that foundation for the 10th house Pisces, right? A spiritual connection, compassion, service to others. During my day job, I work in a government program that serves low income families. So I'm in the realm of service to others. And for me, I just love that sort of, looking back, I like seeing how that has developed. And I've had a lot of other training since then with my spiritual development. So meditation teachers, 300-hour teacher training, Kundalini teacher training, yin, Nidra, restorative. I'm like really hungry for knowledge. Of course, as a true Gemini rising, right? My whole life is about collecting knowledge and teaching and sharing with others. Now, with my moon, emotionally, it has been quite difficult, but I think that the yoga training created that foundation for me to be able to recognize, observe, integrate, process emotionally, and sit with the big feelings, right? Especially Pluto going through Capricorn, in my 8th house, a lot of death in my family, friends, a lot of endings, a lot of things I had to face that were a little bit scary, right? Gemini's not just surface level, depends on the whole chart, right? And it can go deep with that. So yeah.
Exactly. So when you said yoga, I had a kind of awakening because Taurus is about body senses. So
Mm,
that Uranus there changed how you see your body, how you see your senses. So it came from the within, basically. And
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah,
And Taurus rules like the senses being ruled by Venus. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. This is
exactly.
fun.
And
Mhm.
I think it also resonates with the 11th house North Node because like you got into new groups and you change your groups with the node. So how has that been with the eclipses?
Oh, I love that question. Like over the past year and a half, that change in friend groups and community, my hopes and wishes, the dreams for the future, right? In Aries. And it has really shifted and changed, especially the last part of it going through Aries. And finding new connections, old connections, letting go, releasing, being able to be, I think it feels like I really have solidified my community, you know, of where I belong, where I share, where I teach, where I learn, my friendships, the people that I'm with. I think it really solidified that over this past year and a half. Absolutely.
Exactly. And I see that like what you have experienced a lot aligns with the whole chart because you also have Neptune in the 10th house, Saturn in the 10th house. So you like kind of put yourself to service, learning spirituality, yoga. So this is amazing. So yeah, you can you also briefly talk about Saturn and Neptune there?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, in the 10th house, it's really our public image, right? One of the meanings of the 10th house, and how we show up in life. And so Gemini risings have been going through a really different change. I feel like Neptune and Pisces feels good, right? Because it rules Pisces. And the dreams, the imagination, it can be escapism, right? Like with Neptune going through that particular house if something's happening. And it's been there since 2011. And 2011 was a really integral year for me where I have a 1-year-old baby. And so I was not yet teaching yoga. I was really going through like, questioning myself, like what is my purpose, right? The 10th house really has us asking, what is our purpose? What is our dharma in life? How am I going to show up? And with Neptune going through it, it can be a little, I don't know, imaginative, a little daydreamy, lovely, you know. And I feel like Neptune softened some of the things I went through working in a very intense 60-hour corporate job, traveling all the time with just having a new baby. And I was like, this is not for me, right? It took a little bit longer to get there, with the planets moving through that particular house, a lot of assessment, right? And what is my purpose? You know, I felt like Neptune really helped drive me to find that spiritual purpose, that 10th house meaning of serving others, and being there for others. And in a spiritual sense, of course, these with Pisces twist. So I came to the realization of like, I'd wanted to be a yoga teacher since I was very young. I was studying astrology since I was 9. I absolutely love it, staring up at the stars. And I started taking the teacher training in 2016. That's about 5 years in, right? I had been thinking about it, and just one day, it was actually during my nodal return, because I'm a Virgo North Node, Pisces South Node. It was during my nodal return, and I said, "That's it. I'm doing the training," you know. And the next day I went to it, just signed up in a whim. And since then, really knowing that purpose, you know, finding that heart, understanding where I'm at, what I'm doing, what I want to do in my life has been really beautiful to see that develop. And once I stepped into that in the nodal return, it exploded. And I started to have like downloads of like astrology and yoga. Like it was incredible. Like I'd just be laying in bed one night and then boom, like everything came to me. I saw the connections. It was sparkly. Maybe it was a Kundalini rising. I don't know. But like you have these sort of inspirations. And then I started talking about it in class. I had been very scared in the past to talk about it at my workplace, at in my yoga classes. But I'm like, no way, this is my purpose. And I felt really driven. And I think the 10th house, when planets are going through there, depending what it is, it's going to drive you, right? It's going to help you change your perspective and how also how people see you. So I'm really curious what Neptune, once it moves into Aries, what will happen in my friend groups. But I feel like then over the development of those years, you know, with Neptune there for Gemini risings, you also have to have a little bit of structure and boundary, right? Because
Yeah.
Neptune's very boundaryless. So it's a little wavy, and everything started to come into fruition where taught a lot of classes. I started speaking at yoga conferences about yoga and astrology, combining them together. I wrote a book. But yoga and astrology wasn't paying the bills. So I did have to step into another position. And this is really funny because when Saturn moved into, I was working for a government program as like an hourly, and true Gemini fashion, I have a lot of jobs and I'm always busy and always on the go. But when Saturn moved into Pisces, I became the manager of the program.
Wow.
Okay. Like that's incredible. If astrology isn't real, I don't know what is. But I became the manager of the business office of this program when Saturn moved into Pisces. And I said, here we go. It's ramping up. I'm gonna have to follow the rules. I'm gonna have to know the structure. I'm gonna have to manage people, make sure the program runs smoothly. I had to have, you know, I'm already a Virgo, I'm already Taurus moon, like I'm already structured and organized. So it went along with the plan. It felt okay, it felt in alignment. But one of the big things that I did with this position is that I was my true and authentic self. I said, look, I'll be the manager of the business program, but also I'm showing up as the yoga teacher and the astrologer. And it felt really good and in alignment. because then I could share. I share with my employees in my program. I share a lot of my writings for, you know, the events. Like I have a newsletter, right? That like talks about astrology and I share it with them. I'm not hiding anymore, you know, and that's a big thing. Because with Neptune, I feel like if you're in the 10th house for Gemini risings, if you're not necessarily knowing what your dharma, your path is, when it's in these final degrees, escapism is going to be really coming up for you. Like I'm feeling like I'm flailing out in the universe. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what my path is, my purpose. The other path for Neptune is escapism, addictions, right? Yeah. So I think that goes hand in hand. And with Saturn in that house, it really wakes us up. It's making us become aware of our responsibilities, right? And we have to have boundaries. And I have experienced that with my job, my day job. And then my yoga work, you know, I'm a teacher trainer now. I made that a goal. And so I also have people that depend on me a lot to teach them the knowledge of the yogic texts and the 8 limbs of yoga. And I'm responsible for them. So Saturn's making me have a lot of responsibility these years. I'm waiting for it to move on out, but I recognize and I honor you, Saturn. I know that it's a malefic planet, but I think if you work with it, it can be to your benefit. What do you think, Matt?
Definitely. Exactly. And also, 10th house Saturn made you claim your identity. So you claim your identity as a boss, as an astrologer, as a yoga teacher. So it solidified the things for you. And you also had stability with Saturn, so discipline with Saturn. So then you are here. Okay. So thank you. And it's great to see that everything aligns in your chart. And I'm also curious about Pluto and Aquarius. So what change have you felt so far with that?
Oh, Matt. Yeah, that's Pluto. Pluto has been super rough through the 8th house, but like I feel like, you know, um moving into the 9th house, it's been going in and out a little bit over the past year and a half, I believe. Like it would go in to the 9th and come out, then go into the 9th and come out. And now I'm like so looking forward to it going into the 9th house because Pluto in the 8th house moved us into taking the underworld. And
Yes.
Pluto is comfortable there, right? So the underworld is facing that which we fear, or exploring divinity and the cult, tarot, death, the cycles of life, you know. And I feel like I'm just so grateful for it to be shifting out of that. But I didn't look at Pluto in the 8th house as why did this happen to me, but rather what can I learn from it? And that message moves into the 9th house because that's taking the higher road, right? And when Pluto goes through the 9th house, wow, I was in Cornwall, or I was in England when it moved into the 9th house this year, 2024. And I had an absolutely incredible experience, terrifying, uplifting, awakening, challenging. And I was like, wow, thank you, Pluto. I see you. And I feel like a big part of Pluto going through the 9th house because it really covers like foreign travel, international, you know, higher learning, wisdom, guru. But I was in a foreign country, and I feel like over the next 20 years, that traveling for me is going to be really important. That maybe retreats, you know, for yoga and astrology. I would love to do that. I felt like this was such an initiation being in a foreign country when that came into play. And that Pluto just was, I just really embraced that because it was scary, but also amazing at the same time. So, you know, and I think like the belief system, like when Pluto moves through your 9th house, Gemini risings, your belief system can change. And what that did for me was shifted I have a really nice solid foundation of a belief system, but now that it's going through the 9th house, can I teach it? Can I have the courage to share it? You know, but I think what we really have to do is be cognizant not to change that to be cognizant of the ego, right? In the ninth house, where you don't turn into like some sort of crazy guru, right? And have like all these followers and be, I don't think that's not going to happen to me. I would never do that. I'm way too like humble in that respect, but I want to share the power of yoga. I want to share the power of breath work, moving your body, contemplation, self-acceptance, self-awareness, being kind to others, nonviolence, all of these things we teach in yoga. But a lot of the world sometimes often has that view of yoga of being just about like the fancy postures, right? And the influencers on Instagram or something. But for Pluto going through the ninth house, we're going to have a big test too of our beliefs. I think that's definitely going to come true within the next couple years, or actually 4 years for those in the United States. What can you hold on to your belief system? How do you change your belief system? Do you have a good foundation in your spirituality, your wisdom, your inner knowledge? What do you feel like about Pluto there?
Exactly. So Pluto will show the depth of things, not just superficial things, as you say, like on Instagram or
Yeah.
just for fun or this type of things. Pluto will show the philosophy, and it will also eliminate the superficial approach, superficial
Mm,
practice. So yeah, we will see the depth, and we will see the belief in Aquarian philosophies, change in Aquarian philosophies, revolution, kind of revolutionary change. So yeah, that's also amazing to hear. So I'm so happy for Gemini risings that it moved out of your eighth house and now in the ninth house. So that will be about loss of growth. Okay, perfect. So thank you for sharing your stories. And I believe that it will help many people. I believe that many of Gemini risings are going through similar themes. So I saw that with my Capricorn rising video or Taurus rising video. So it is
yeah.
like crazy how many people went through the similar things. So basically, oh, wow. And now I also wanted to ask this because many of these transits will last next year as well. So it's not like over. So it's not like next. So there will be shifts back and forth, and it's a gradual energy. So
Yeah.
like you cannot expect something to happen in a single day or in a few days. It will be gradual because these are slow planets. Yes,
Yeah, exactly. So true.
exactly. Okay, then. So now the first change that I'm very exact about is the North Node into Pisces into your 11th house. So, and it will conjunct Saturn and Neptune. So first, I believe it will finalize what you have been through since 2011, since 2022, 23, and then there will be conclusions. And what do you think about that? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I feel really strongly about this because I'm going through a nodal reversal. So I'm 46, that happens around that age, and the nodal reversal. I feel like there's a lot of endings from the past 8 years. I started the yoga teacher training on my nodal return. And so, what do I really want to do with this? And it has a lot to do with my home and a lot to do with my career, my purpose, my path. So I think about that a lot, and I'm going with the flow of like what will be new because the North Node is going to be touching upon all of that, right, in Pisces. And big transits, they're going to be it's going the South Node is going to be on my Sun and my Mercury and my Saturn. I have a Virgo stellium, and so I'm letting go a lot of like that identity, right? And so a lot of it in the fourth house is just letting go of like the emotional security that I may be holding on to, especially as a Taurus moon. And then the North Node really showing me in Pisces, like, where do I want to go with this? What am I going to do with this? Because I feel so strongly about it. And I have to let go of some of those fears. And I have to let go maybe a little bit of the home base, to be able to maybe with Pluto going into Aquarius, offering like teacher training, yoga, and astrology retreats, traveling. I also want to do a yoga teacher training that emphasizes learning astrology and learning the connections to yoga. So, like, each part of the body, the astrology rules, right? Like we have the Taurus full moon, that's the neck. that's the throat chakra. Like there's so many beautiful connections, like we can understand, why is this affecting me the way that it's affected me? How can I work with this energy? What's going on in my personal chart? So that's a big thing that's on my mind, like that training for others that really want to dive deeper into the study of their self, their zodiac, how to just work with the astrology, right? Virgo is very practical. So I'm like, how do we work with this? What do we do with this? How can I make my life better doing that?
Exactly, and as you said, Virgo South Node maybe will let you go out of your home, out of your comfort zone, or also it will also teach you how to let go of criticism or perfectionism. So maybe like for Gemini risings, I know that they are internally pretty critical of themselves, Virgo fourth house. So it can also be family criticism, it can be their inner voice. So everything should be perfect, especially at home, especially in their living environment. What they do should be practical. So maybe the Pisces eclipses, just do it. Like just don't think about it, just feel good and let go and do it. So
Yeah.
and that will be about some adventure basically. So you will also explore your emotional depth with Pisces North Node and Pisces 10th house. So and you will see that through helping or connecting with people. And in your profession, for example, yoga, teaching yoga or teaching or helping people and sharing their stories, listening to their stories and exchanging wisdom. So that will be pretty much part of it. So I'm so excited for that for you. And then I think it will also be a type of solid conclusion of Neptune and Saturn. So even if you are a Gemini rising and you don't see your direction yet, so when the eclipses happen, you will see it. Like life will show you, eclipses will show you. Okay, go to that direction, kind of.
I
So
love that. So true.
uh, that is pretty exciting. And then after the notes, of course, eclipses are something to talk about separately, so we won't go deep in that.
Yeah.
Then I believe overall it will help you find your true profession, true passion in your career, in your goal, and
Yeah.
that will be an amazing discovery. Okay,
Yeah.
so next we will have Neptune after so many years, moving into Pisces in April. So, sorry, moving into Aries in April. So let's go for that. And Neptune in the 11th house. So that seems pretty interesting to me. How do you feel about that? So you are already in the spiritual community, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the development of that, Neptune allowing for, I don't know, going a little bit deeper with the community. Um, I in and also, not just community, but also like feeling into like the what do you call that? Like the hopes and dreams for the future, right? Like Aquarius really, that house really shows like hopes and dreams. It's very fiery, right? So a lot of my mentors have been Aries in my life and in yoga and also in my day job, just working in a government program. A lot of them have been Aries leaders. And I see Neptune there as a chance to also explore technology. How do I utilize technology to move and share my talents, or how you show up in the world? And I think that's going to be an overall theme for everybody anyway, moving forward. Of course, with AI, GPT, how do you utilize your social networks, your social medias? But in the friend groups, I one thing that I want to be cautious about um is being able to establish boundaries with friend groups, because I oftentimes will just say yes to, like, yeah, sure, I'll do your reading, your year ahead horoscoping or natal chart reading. I oftentimes will lose myself in that, and not have any boundaries with my community of, like, because I'm of such service, and then I'll lose myself. So I'm like, okay, I have to be aware of that with Neptune moving through there and being like, okay, can I really do this? Can I handle this energy wise or not? As well. Yeah.
Exactly. So, as you said, first Neptune, there will be about how you present yourself socially, and it can also be about some more connection to social media, for example, or technologies, 11th house. And it will first be about, I believe, your passion. So, like, where do you feel passionate? With which group you feel passionate? So, how do you want to follow your passion with people? So, that can also be a thing.
I
And
love that.
then I also had Neptune in my 11th house, like I'm a Taurus rising. So like since 2011, I have met many interesting people. So, and
Oh,
like it was like an ocean, come and go. So my social circles evolved. And similar to what you said, I also discovered that I should have better boundaries, or this
yeah.
can also make you open to some deception or being taken advantage of, or this type of things. So you should have good boundaries. And then you will just like, let's say, try and test and find the best option for you, like intuitively with Neptune there. And negatively, there might be some friend losses. So some friendships might be too shaky, and Neptune will kind of make them more confusing. And eventually, you might realize that maybe you have a good friend, but you have grown apart, like you are no longer that close, or maybe your friendship ended. You will realize that. So that will take you to correct first person connected groups and friendships. So that will be pretty idealistic. I love that too. And
Yeah.
11th house is also about social help charities. So Neptune here will also be pretty, like, you might want to help everybody. So, okay, I will go there and help this person. I will go there and help this animal. But yeah, you can help as much as you can, but there might also be the risk to internalize all the social chaos, all the social pain. So there should also be boundaries. So you cannot help everybody you see. As much as you can help, but
Yeah.
you cannot help the child in the other side of the world. So there is no need to be, let's say, wreck yourself about it. Or yeah, it will also be about some social boundaries, I believe.
Yeah, I really appreciate that perspective and your experience with it. I need to keep that in mind. Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Yeah, good to hear. Overall, it will be pretty passionate, I believe, Neptune in 11th house. So you will put yourself out there, and there might be some activism groups, as we talked. So that will be cool. And soon after, Neptune's friend Saturn will join Aries, but this time Saturn does not do well in Aries that much. So it will also be in 11th house, which might make it a bit easier. But how do you think that energy will be?
Oh, yeah. I think that, kind of like you were talking about in terms of boundaries, with Saturn being more self-disciplined, not being able, not, talking about like knowing when I could show up and not be able to help everybody, right? It's okay. And then shaking the foundation of my friend group. I think, like you mentioned, there could be possible groups or clubs or friends that are going to be breaking apart, leaving, ending, because that foundation that I thought that I had there, Saturn going through it will often shake that to either test it, right, or to break it or to rebuild it. And so that's going to be really interesting. And I feel like it's going to be a really kind of a serious time with friends and not so much happy go lucky, and especially like hopes and dreams, it may feel a little daunting. And for what's to come in the US, I feel like, this could go either way. I don't know, with what's going to be happening, but I may feel like the hopes and dreams of the future could be not so positive at times, right? But then again, with Gemini rising, that perspective on the world, I can sort of shift that into a more positive outlook too. Like, what am I learning? What's the lesson here? What Saturn says, what is the lesson? I am your mentor. I am your discipliner. So what is the lesson here and how can I learn from it versus like, I'm scared of this. I don't want to deal with it. Because if we don't deal with it, with Saturn going through these houses, like if you don't work with Saturn, Saturn's going to make something happen such that you have to work with them, face it.
Exactly. So I love your attitude and approach towards everything. So like what can I make the best out of it? How can I learn from it? So Saturn will also be about that. And it can also at first make you feel a bit lonely. So you might, as you said, evaluate your friendships and you might feel a bit isolated or a bit pessimist from time to time. But that
Yeah.
will pass like after you get used to that energy. So I also have Saturn in my 11th house right now, so I know that feeling. So
Okay.
it can
Got
kind of make you feel like, are my friends really my friends? Do I really belong to that group? Do I
it.
belong to this community? So you might question these things, but eventually it will be solid. Like you will find the answer, I believe, with Saturn in the 11th house.
So did it
Okay.
affect like your dreams for the future, your hopes or anything like that? Or did it make you work a little bit more towards them?
Exactly, it made you work really hard for my goals. So
Okay.
what do I really want? How do I
Yeah.
really feel better in something? So in Pisces, it will be more about feelings. So I like kind of pursue my feelings and
Yeah.
my emotional connection. But in Aries, I believe it will be more active and your passions. So
Yeah.
that will be fiery like them Pisces for
Yeah.
you, and which is good.
Definitely a different feel for sure.
Okay, so then the next shift will be, let's see, I think in June, Cancer, Jupiter. So you guys are so lucky because like Jupiter is exalted in Cancer and you have second house Cancer in which Jupiter gets exalted. So like I'm so, let's say, if you ask me like 10 placements that you are jealous of, I can tell this. Jupiter in the second house, so in Cancer. Okay, so how do you feel about that?
I'm really curious about this. One thing, thank you for saying that because I often
Yeah.
look at my second house really emotionally. Like, how it's like income, your basic needs. Like, I have an emotional story around money and finances because of Cancer being there. So it makes me anxious. I have emotional connection to money where it's like, is it enough? Is it not enough? I don't, it makes me really anxious. I don't feel comfortable or secure, right? Like Cancer can be really moody around that. But Jupiter going into there, I'm like, okay, thank you. Maybe it will show me a little bit of love and positivity and expansion, right? In the second house. I'm really hoping it somehow connects to this North Node in Pisces, to all the hard work I've been putting into my 10th house with Saturn there, Neptune there, right? And now the North Node is there. And it's like, okay, it's clearing out. Can Jupiter then bring some good luck, some positivity, some opportunity, to bring in more money and feel more stable, or to provide more of like, the basic needs in life, the pleasures in life, that connection to also emotional security and comfort there. How do I value myself? Like, I feel like Jupiter going through the second house, like it's a lot about how we value things, but like we start to know how we value ourselves then. And I'm excited for it. And I'm really hoping it's somehow connected to, all the hard work that I put into the 10th house, Pluto going through the ninth house with my belief systems. And then also, all that emphasis on the friend groups, maybe changing, shifting, using technology, my hopes and dreams for the future. Yeah.
Exactly. So perfect. So I think that will be about good self-confidence, but a realistical one because
Mm,
Saturn will also square Jupiter with Neptune. So okay,
yeah.
so don't go too much. Be like trust in yourself, but not too much. Do not overspend and do not be unrealistical. Just be realistic. Like good things will come to you, like basically. So then I think it will make you use of all the resources, talents, gifts that you have. Cancer is also about family. So what you get from family, what values you get from your family, and how you feel internally. So that will make you kind of pretty self-confident if you are struggling with these things. And financially as well, at first, it is not pleasant that Saturn will square Jupiter. So it can be a bit like a slap. But afterwards, I believe, as you said, Jupiter will trine North Node in Pisces, and Jupiter rules the North Node in Pisces. So for that, when it trines becomes exact, so there might be something like a good reward, good karma, all the profits that you have done in your work. So it will be a good time that things will pay off to you, like whether in career, whether in income or self-confidence. So that will be pretty cool. And Jupiter in Cancer, I think, is also connected to real estate. So many Gemini risings might buy a house or settle down or buy a house abroad, for example. Cancer might also be about that with Jupiter, in my opinion. And yeah, I just want to add that, yeah, for aspects, Jupiter will in conjunct Pluto. So,
Mm.
yeah, in conjunct is not that famous aspect, but yeah, we know that it's the aspect of surprise and it's the aspect of, let's say, dark humor and some unpredictable things. So there might be some unpredictable things that you come across regarding your second house and ninth house. So it can be sudden travelings, it can be something like a prize, it can be sudden income, it can be something good that is kind of unearthing the treasure. So Pluto is hidden, it's buried. Jupiter treasure. So I think this in conjunction will help you unearth something in you. So you will realize all of your gifts, talents, resources, or there might be something unexpected, like a prize or like sudden travel. As you said, you are already connected to foreign lands. Like maybe you will suddenly be in China, like you don't know. So our Gemini rising. So it can be about that, I believe. And then, yeah, for Jupiter, I can say that. And what would you like to say?
Okay, I'm excited. Yeah. Things to come, 2025. That's some good
Exactly.
news.
Exactly. And now Gemini risings will also ask about relationships. So Sagittarius rules your seventh house, and it will be in your second house. Jupiter will be in your second house. So it might be building a life together with somebody, maybe buying a house together, moving in together, or maybe long-term partnership, long-term commitment. So as Cancer will be pretty abundant, so you might kind of get ready to start a family or move in together or build a family with somebody. So this can also be the possible themes indirectly, I think.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I am married and have two kids. And
Yeah,
yeah, so definitely moving forward, that sounds really beautiful. Like just building on that foundation, good things to come. Yeah, that's really cool.
exactly.
Yeah. How lovely.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
really interesting because my husband and I have the same birthday, but we're 10 years apart. Um,
oh,
and different rising signs. So that's a really interesting study in charts and how different we can be, but have the same birthday.
yeah, that will be a cool case study.
Yeah.
And then we have a big surprise for you. Like Jupiter in conjunct Pluto will be the iceberg. And then we have the, let's say, master of surprises, Uranus, coming into Gemini in your first house. So I'm a Taurus rising since 2018. Everything about me has changed. So I could
Oh,
not even think about that. I will be doing YouTube videos with everybody from all over the world about astrology. So I could
yeah.
not even think about that. So wow, so many things. And
That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, wow. I just, that's incredible. Like, I'm really anxious about this, Matt. Like, I really am. Like, Uranus, what it did to my 12th house, I think it's helping me sort of prepare for the first house, but
yes,
I'm anxious about this. So, yeah, I already feel it coming. Oh my goodness. So that's
okay,
interesting to
so
know how it affected you. So thanks for sharing that.
sure. So it changed my physical appearance, it changed my work, it changed how I present myself, it changed my career, it changed my social status, it changed my view on money, finances, and it
Wow.
changed my financial status, it changed my, I don't know, resources, and it changed everything about me since 2018. So, and they also happened boom. So one clue, like Uranus might be more comfortable in Gemini because it's an air sign. Taurus is more, let's say, resistant to change. But still, if you resist to change, it will happen for the worse. So the more you resist, the more harder you will be hit. So for that, as Gemini risings, I think it will like you will have some easy time to going with the flow. So you will accept the changes of Uranus and Gemini. So it can also be about technology, news, and making use of your knowledge and how you present yourself, how you express yourself. And that will also be about dual or multiple side of Gemini, which is more curious and like into knowledge. So you will learn lots of things and you will learn things that you don't even know today. So that will kind of be pretty interesting. So
Yeah.
everything can happen basically with
Yeah,
your
right,
systems.
exactly. I like that you mentioned like Gemini with the duality, you know, because there's certainly something there to be said with that. And accepting the duality of life. You know, a big part of things that I've been resisting is definitely learning technology. Like a lot, like I want to do more with like what I want to share with the world, but I'm just sort of like, oh, you know, I don't want to have to learn all that. But I feel like you know, Uranus is that always forward thinker too, right? And so, and it really will bring technology to the forefront. And also with Gemini, just Uranus and Gemini in general, like information and misinformation, the duality of everything that's going on in this world. So it's going to be awakening in so many ways, no matter where it is in your chart. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but also a little anxious about it going through that first house.
Exactly.
How I
These
go
are
into it, how I'm coming out of it. Yeah.
exactly. So you also have a nice collective aspect, a cosmic support, like Uranus, Pluto trine, and
Right,
Saturn,
right.
Neptune sextile. And these are at the top side of the chart. So I think like the universe will also guide you to the correct path. Or there's no one correct path actually. So you will be where you are supposed to be, like whichever way that you take, basically.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for mentioning that. That is going to be lovely in the beginning when it comes through. Yeah, you're right.
exactly. So it will be an interesting summer for you this summer. Like there will be lots of changes and unpredictable things. And finally, for transits, I want to talk about the last day of the year, December 2025. So by the end of the year, the planets will go back to the previous signs, except Jupiter. So Uranus will be in Taurus, and Neptune, Saturn will be in Pisces. So for that, how will that retrograde affect your be about? What will it be about?
I really love how they kind of dip back into the signs again because it's almost like we're returning to something that still needs to be felt, processed. We're returning back to maybe reflecting on something. We're still learning the lesson. I feel like it will be sort of like maybe a test too. Sometimes that might come up at the end of the year. All the hard work that we're doing throughout the whole year in these particular houses, working with the energies, the themes, the changes, the surprises, like you mentioned, right? There's a lot of surprise. By the end of the year, we think we're in a good place, or maybe we're stable, or maybe we're reflecting back for the year, right? We kind of do that at the end of the year. Maybe we have to return to something that we're still learning. Maybe it's a test in those particular houses, like the 10th house in career, or of like the 12th house, right? Of your subconscious. Something could be drummed up to come from the inner depths that really has to be faced in order to move forward. I mean, what's the next right action and step that you're going to take in your life? Have you learned the lesson? You know, that's the way that I think of it, you know, and then we can move forward with the newness and the new path and the new beginnings.
Exactly. So now I think of amusement parks. So, children are at first afraid to go through some, I don't know, machine. And then when they finish it, they say, I want to do it again. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it will be the time of evaluation. So you will look back and we will all do that based on our charts. And we will think about the unfinished business. We will think like how we uh, could do better for the second time or the rest of the time. So,
Yeah.
and it also shows that everything is not like linear. So there are cycles. So we go
Yes.
back, revise, we repeat. So it's not like Uranus will be in Gemini on the first day, you will change, like totally you will change. So that will be a long process. And I think it will remind people about that. So that's cool.
Yeah. I love that you
Okay.
mentioned that because, like, in my business, life cycles yoga, right? I really talk about the cycles of our life and how we return back to things because, like, we kind of like with the moon, for instance, right? It changes every 2.5 days. We arrive at this full moon in a different way than we arrived last year in the Taurus full moon. Like, we're returning back to that spot, but as an evolved soul, as a person that has been changed, right? So we're always in the process of change and growth and evolution. So I love that you mentioned that, the cycles of life. Yeah. And that's what I teach
Thank
to my
you.
students. I like
Yeah.
them to notice that my yoga students get a personalized horoscope and we study those cycles. Where the sun is in our chart, where the moon is in on our chart, and then we work with it through yogic practice in the 8 limbs. So yeah, so true.
Oh, I'm so curious about that. I will love to maybe try one day.
Yeah, I'd
And
love to have you try it out. Yeah, for sure.
exactly. So also it's good that you mentioned, like again, like for example, me this year is so different than me last year and me previous year. So there's a huge shift. So I think everybody is feeling that shift in their personal lives. So it happens in evolutionary cycles. Perfect.
Mhm.
Okay. So is there anything that you would like to add that we might have forgotten to talk about?
Oh my gosh, I just think 2025 is going to be so pivotal, like for everybody, because there's such big movement, right? I know these planets are like big planets, they move slow, but there's huge paradigm shifts happening in the energy of them, right? Neptune, Pluto, Saturn, and Uranus, and Jupiter, of course. I mean, Jupiter moves a little faster, right? But there are just really huge shifts in the collective happening, and we're feeling it. Just honor what you feel, honor where you're at, but also do the work. Show up and do the work on yourself, because if we can't change ourselves, we can't change the world. And that's important to realize. Honor yourself and this world. So hopefully we're moving towards the age of Aquarius and a better world. So
Exactly. So it's such a perfect conclusion. Thank you so much, Sirena. So I loved our chat. I loved our discussion with you. I love your energy and your approach of many things. So like I feel that Gemini rising uplifting energy in you. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I believe that it will be helpful to many Gemini risings. So and I really enjoyed our discussion. And yeah. So I will also add your links for people if they want to contact you, if they want to find you. So below the video. So yeah, any final words? Anything to say?
yeah, thank you so much, Matt. It's so nice to get to know you and get to chat passionately about my absolute love of astrology. This has just been such an honor. So thank you for sharing this out in the world and
Welcome,
doing
welcome.
what you do.
Anytime you want, like we can do videos on what you do, like yoga, astrology connection. So I believe that will be very helpful to many people. So chakras, throat chakras, for example. So like I'm also Taurus rising. So for example, I struggle with my throat chakra. Maybe you feel that. So sometimes.
Yeah, we
In,
can definitely talk about that. Yes, for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Taurus, for example, like we can talk about many things. Okay, then. So thank you so much one more time. So this is the end of the video. So if you like it, please comment and subscribe to my channel and see you next time with other risings and goodbye.